The competitor in the shadows. The corridors were no longer silent. They were haunted, not by ghosts, but by footsteps, always just behind him, always lingering near the same doors. At first, he thought it was coincidence, but soon he knew better. There was one man he couldn't ignore, a rep who never smiled, who spoke little, but whose presence felt heavy, like a shadow cast across every clinic. His tie was immaculate, his shoes spotless, his voice low and measured, and yet he carried almost nothing. The young salesman first noticed him after another humiliating morning. 3 doctors had turned him away, his samples untouched, his words unheard. As he leaned against the cold wall, drowning in failure, the shadow man stepped out of the doctor's office. The door closed. Moments later, prescriptions began to flow. It wasn't science, it wasn't persuasion, it was influence, pure and silent. Later that day, he tried to approach the same doctor, but before he could knock, the nurse blocked his way. "Doctor's busy. Come tomorrow." Her eyes flicked down the hall where the shadow competitor stood, watching. A faint smile curled at his lips. That night, sleep never came. Shadows followed him into dreams, whispering that every door already belonged to someone else. He woke drenched in sweat, the silence pressing down like a coffin lid. Morning came. He polished his shoes, tightened his tie, rehearsed his words. Another clinic, another chance. But when he arrived, the shadow was already there, leaning casually against the wall, notebook in hand, their eyes locked. The competitor's gaze calm, confident, merciless. Without a word, he knocked lightly on the door. Not loud, but final. Minutes later, the prescriptions flowed again. The young salesman tried after him, but the doctor barely looked up. "Not today," he muttered, pen scratching across page after page with another man's brand. The young man stood hollow in the doorway. As he left, the shadow fell and stepped beside him, silence heavier than words. And then, just before parting, the older man whispered, almost kindly, "This isn't about medicine. Learn that or quit." The words echoed long after he was gone, and the young salesman realized the war was never against indifference. It was against men who didn't just play the game, they own it. And in this war, shadows always walked ahead.